Hello, welcome back to another stream from Tachyon Lance. Today we're going to be looking at a few more battles. A number of requests have come through from some comments made to my other videos, so we'll explore some of them and a few other battles. So I haven't made many videos lately. I've been rather ill. Spent pretty much the last day in bed trying to recover, so I'm feeling a little bit better today, so I thought I'd make a video, start to make one. So what we've got here is, this is one request for a mix of destroyers with artillery, and there's some plasma there. They didn't really specify what the other weapons they wanted, so I just put some plasma in there. And we've got a bunch of corvettes, which have got the plasma, which is what they wanted as well, and that's got the swarm computers. And the destroyers, I've made them picket. And they've also got the auxiliary fire control to try and give the artillery a better chance to hit. So there's 43 destroyers, 84 corvettes, roughly a 50-50 split in fleet power. This is against our combined fleet with the carriers, the arc emitters, and then the arc emitters, Cloud Lightning, and then our cruisers with torpedoes and missiles. So this fleet isn't really optimized to fight smaller fleets. You wouldn't really want to fight this fleet with that fleet. They might still win, but I doubt it. It's going to be difficult for this fleet to beat that fleet, but it could surprise me. They don't have any torpedoes for the large damage, so it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. Let's see.
Hostile fleet assets engaged.
Lost a cruiser now. They haven't lost that many ships. Oh, they have lost quite a few destroyers actually. Yeah, the destroyers are going down first. Large fleet's doing surprisingly well, though they've lost nearly all their shields. Let's just see what's doing the damage here. So the focused arc emitters. Small plasma's doing okay. Devastator torpedoes just doing not that much damage. Devastator torpedoes, okay, they're doing a fair bit to the armor. That's probably on the destroyers, because they should be getting, was it 200% bonus against destroyers? I think it is, or maybe it's 300%. Not exactly sure. It's hard to know now whether it's frigates 100% or corvettes 100%. Frigates, are they 200%? I'm not sure. You have to look at the coding. Because sometimes I think they might class frigates and corvettes the same. Well, that battle went not really as I expected. I didn't think our combined fleet would do that well against the smaller fleet. That was very surprising, actually.
Alert. Fleet unit offline.
So those torpedoes still do good damage against destroyers. So I think that's part of the issue. And plus the arc emitters on the carriers are just so effective, because you've got your strike craft doing your shield penetration, hitting the armor, and then you've got your arc emitters, which goes through both, also doing that. And then you've got your missiles going in, also going straight through to the armor. So it's, and when they're getting close, you've got your disruptors there to help with short range stuff, and they really shred your corvettes. So that's a really good complementary design. Although the flak there, not really, doesn't really help at all, because there's nothing from the shoot versus this battle. Not sure how effective they were. They weren't really high in the stats, these weapons. The disruptors, they would have helped. What was the other? And the arc emitter. I don't think these guys, well, the focused arc emitter was high up, but these weren't very high up either. And the torpedoes, well, they they seem to do good against anything destroyers and above. So still good against destroyers. So this fleet was pretty successful. Really, look at the losses. We suffered no battleship losses, and we lost what 3 cruisers. So yep. So highly effective against smaller fleets, as we just found out. That was very interesting. Okay, I'll set up the next battle. Okay, for this fight we've got our combined fleet from the last battle with our 16 battleships and no, that's right. What have we got? Okay, no, this is what we've got in this fight. We've got our 16 battleships and 21 destroyers. This was a request to test out the point defenses. So we've got 3 point defenses and 2 small missile slots. I just put in shields armor and put in some shield hardeners to try and defend against torpedoes more. So this is more to see how the PD defense against torpedoes will work. So there's 21 PD destroyers against along with 16 artillery battleships. So standard artillery, got tachyon lancers, shields and armor, and 2 lots of shield hardeners to mitigate the damage from torpedoes a little bit. So it's got artillery computers, and our destroyers also have artillery computers, so they should stick closer to the battleships and provide point defense. Opposing them, I just picked a combination of cruisers, devastators with disruptors to try and kill their ships, with a mix of shields and armor and shield hardeners. I just have shield hardeners in there because I haven't changed the design from the other builds. I could probably put something else in there like tracking or something maybe, which would be better. And the the frigates have the torpedoes and the missiles and a bit of speed to close the distance. I should probably put speed maybe on the cruisers, increase invasion and that, but it'll do for this. It'll do for this build, this fight. Let's see how this goes. I have no idea who's going to win this one. See that's, did you see that? These destroyers charged in despite having the artillery computers on. Right? They do have the artillery computers on. See that? They're still charged in to their weapon range. So they've got 100 weapon range. I don't know why they're charging in that close. Unless they're charging into the minimum range of 30 for your Guardian point defense. So the destroyers just got absolutely pounded by the torpedoes. So I don't think that really worked as intended. And the battleships are staying at range. The destroyers are tying up the fleet longer, keeping them busy. These guys are getting hammered. They're not closing on the battleships. Now they're closing. Yeah, see, the battleships have probably done enough damage to win this now. Okay, so it might have worked. The destroyers sacrificing themselves. Let's just see what the damage was before this disappears. Tachyon lancers, kinetic artillery, yep, just the battleships pounding away. Wow, look at that. Damage to armor, tachyon lancers, huge. Yep. So that was probably pretty good actually. That was a good tactic. Having the destroyers, even though they charged in, which I thought that wouldn't happen. It prevented the cruisers and frigates from closing distance on the battleships. So it was a good screening tactic. So that did work pretty effectively. Interesting. not the result I expected. So this design comes from Try 99ER. He's coming up with a lot of interesting designs. This is a battleship artillery with 2 missiles, artillery computers with the extra afterburners for speed. So we've got a speed of 303, mix of armor and shields, versus our cruisers with devastator torpedoes, which I'm sticking with the missiles for this fight because they can fire at longer range and do some damage to the destroyers. I've put 3 afterburners on here to try and negate the destroyer's speed advantage. So if you're fighting someone who loves destroyers, you want to keep your ships fast, particularly if they're using artillery, because they're just going to try and engage at range and keep their distance. And these guys will try and close distance. Probably what will happen is the destroyers will run out of room eventually and they'll have to turn and engage. But it just depends if they've destroyed enough of the cruisers by then to make it a good fight. Cruisers are trying to close range. They're losing some numbers. And they're chasing after lone destroyers here and there. Looks like they closed the range now. The destroyers are losing numbers. So are the cruisers. See, they're spread out everywhere. Okay, let's see the damage now. So kinetic artillery, devastator torpedoes. There's not a lot in that. Marauder missiles there, so they would make up for that. So both sides got the marauder missiles. So devastator torpedoes, kinetic artillery, damage to armor, and shields. Getting pretty close. Okay, so the cruisers won that one. I think if the cruisers didn't have the extra speed, then they might have lost because the destroyers could kite them more, which we've seen before in other battles. And maybe if these were disruptors rather than missiles, it might have been closer as well. So, but the extra speed, and this is what I originally had on my cruisers when I did the first meta videos, the speed, because it just adds that to that evasion and means you can close to range quickly and keep pace with most targets. Most of the time you're going to be able to keep within 30 range. Even against corvettes, they're going to be turning, and eventually they'll run out of room, and sooner or later they've got to turn and face you when you've got that kind of speed. So I think that's a viable design, those destroyers, but up against fast cruisers, not going to win. Pretty good though. Okay, we've got another fleet design here from Try 99ER. This one's pretty much a battleship cruiser fight versus battleship cruiser. That's our combined fleet that we've been using. This one is a mix of a bit different design of the artillery battleship. That's pretty standard. This one, there's tachyon lance artillery, some shield hardeners, artillery computers. Then we've got arc emitter battleships. It's a bit different design with a mix of arc emitter, carriers, disruptors, and point defences, shield hardeners, so it should negate some torpedo damage. And then we've got cruisers with devastator torpedoes, missiles, and disruptors with speed to try and close that range versus our standard combined fleet. We've got the carrier battleships there. We've got our artillery battleships there. Archimedes of Cloud Lightning. And then we've got our cruisers, Devastator torpedoes. This time running the missiles, this time not the disruptors, so I just picked that one. And let's see how they go. Certainly chewed through the cruisers, this fleet, yep. So let's see what's doing the damage there. So Devastator torpedoes, focused Archimedes, small phase disruptors, Devastator torpedoes, tachyon lancers, Marauder missiles. The tachyon lancers are doing well, and the kinetic artillery is doing pretty well as well. Focused Archimedes. So it looks like this fleet won. Let's so that was, so we've got 8 battleships left, 9 cruisers. Okay, so this combination seemed to be very effective against our combined fleet. It was a bit better at fighting cruisers and battleships. So the focused Archimedes with disruptors and strike craft was more effective than the Archimedes with the Cloud Lightning, and that was just a standard battleship. I think our artillery battleship had 1 less kinetic artillery and had 2 more missiles, so and their PD probably helped a little bit more as well, because the other fleet design carriers had a mix of flak and PD, so it wasn't optimized to just shoot down torpedoes. It was also shooting down flak, or shooting down fighters. So interesting change. Probably the disruptors were doing better than the missiles, so having more disruptors seemed to be more effective once they closed range. Probably because disruptors are also complementing the strike craft as well. Missiles are pretty good too, but it's always that lag with the firing and actually hitting the target. Disruptors are more instant hit. So maybe too many missiles on this fleet, I would imagine. Yeah, especially these whirlwind missiles. I put them in because they're medium slots, but I've never been a big fan of the whirlwind missiles. Maybe if this had the disruptors on there, it would be more effective. Should probably try it with disruptors, because that would probably be a more effective fight. I might try that actually. Okay, so for this fight, all I've changed is I've gone in and changed out missiles for disruptors on wherever we had missiles. It's a good test to see how effective missiles are versus disruptors, to see if it will change the battle outcome at all. So I've changed all the cruisers over to the disruptors. And the only other thing I changed on the carrier was I made it 2 PD versus a PD and flak, to see if that had changed. And I changed it from carrier computer to artillery computer, so the battleships sort of stay together and work together. So see how that changes things, if at all. Still losing cruisers. They've lost more cruisers though this time. So it's probably they just they lost a lot then. Probably those Devastator torpedoes got them. Let's have a look. It's hard to tell which side's doing the damage though, because they've both got similar weapons. Yeah, so the small disruptors are up there doing damage, medium disruptors, Devastator torps, Tachyon Launch. Pretty close, a lot closer this time. But yeah, they've just lost too many ships. Too many ships are retreated now. That was a closer fight that time, so the disruptors were certainly better. But I think it's just that mix of battleships and maybe a couple of extra cruisers they had, because you get more Devastator torpedoes. But probably that mix of having more arc emitter battleships and also Tachyon Lance. I think that's one of the main differences. More kinetic artillery, more Tachyon Lances compared to the other fleet that has more arc emitters. I think that's probably the main difference. So it's interesting. See the results anyway, because it's certainly better fight with without the missiles. So disruptors were more effective once the fleets closed into range. Okay, I'll move on to the next battle. Okay, so we've got our same battleship fleet here, cruiser battleship fleet that was successful last battle. The arc emitters, Tachyon Lance battleships, and the cruisers with a mix of missiles, disruptors, torpedoes against them. So I'll try this combination. I thought I'd try our artillery battleship that we used early on in this video, kinetic artillery and some missiles. So we'll be able to beat down their shields with that. And opposing it is a whole bunch of frigates with the energy neutron launchers. So what I'm sort of hoping for here is the destroyers will whittle down the shields a bit, and these guys can fire at range and hopefully smack down some of their armor and hull. So their artillery as well. So just depends whether they can do enough damage before they lose enough ships. So we'll have to try it out and see how we go. See if this fleet's as good against smaller ships. Torpedoes going in. Both sides taking losses. They've actually lost a few battleships. Actually staying at range fairly effectively to smaller ships. Lost quite a few though, a lot of frigates going down. Lost more ships than I thought they would. It's been quite close, but I think I've lost too many now. Ooh, it's not a lot in it, but I think they're hunting down the last few. Oh, look at the damage I've taken. Oof, it is very close. Oh, look at this. The closest battle I think we've seen. Yeah. Unexpected. Wow. So the little fleet of frigates and destroyers beat that fleet of pure cruisers and battleships. See, it's like there's nearly a counter for every ship design you can throw up there, and I didn't really even think hard about that. I just sort of thought, let's go with a frigate destroyer combination, because that destroyer, as I saw earlier, I thought that design, I thought, oh, I quite like that with the kinetic artillery, and the frigates, well, with the energy torpedoes. Yeah, we've been focusing on devastator torpedoes, but that kinetic battery and neutron launcher was very powerful. That could be a strong meta design. That could be like a strong fleet meta. Destroyers, kinetic artillery versus combined with neutron launching frigates. Because you saw early on in this battle how it sort of came in the middle, fired off the volleys, and then they separated and went over this way and kept at range, while the battleships were over here and cruisers over here kept at range. And they were just firing away at those cruisers, whittling them down. And I actually targeted the battleships first as well. So I'm not sure if that was the kinetic artillery targeting the battleships and then the neutron launchers hitting them, because they did lose quite a few battleships early. So that was quite interesting. I might try this combination with some other fleets and see how it goes. So for this fight, we've got the same destroyer frigate fleet versus our combined fleet we've been using more, which is a mix of 18 cruisers, 12 battleships. So it's got our focused arc emitters with the carriers we've been using, artillery battleship, tachyon lancers, disruptors, an arc emitter and cloud lightning with disruptors, just to see if this combination is better at dealing with smaller ships than that other fleet, or if it's worse. And cruisers, devastator torps and disruptors are using for this. So disruptors should hopefully be better at dealing with smaller ships. So we'll see how these two go. Let's slow this right down at the start. I want to see what ships get hit first. If the cruisers are going to get hit first here. They go in, hitting those destroyers, or frigates. Yeah, frigates. They've lost a battleship already. I like how they're staying at range. Yeah, Space Storm, great. At least it wasn't in this system. You can see it's staying in a nice big arc, whittling away the cruisers that are in there. Let's just check the damage. Probably as expected, kinetic artillery, focused arc emitters. Devastator torps are well down on that one. Damage to hull. Damage to armor, yep. Neutron launchers. So neutron launchers and devastator torps are almost the same. Damage to armor. Well, I guess that's because they get the bonus to armor, isn't it? Damage to shields. Oh, okay, looks like the combined fleet going to be winning this one, is it? Looks like it. Yeah. Yeah, that just retreated and came back. So the combined fleet was more effective in this fight versus smaller ships. Probably just a better mix of weapons. So although it lost to that other fleet, you can see how this fleet is probably better versus a mix of smaller ships as well. So, but we could probably tweak those frigates and destroyers to fight better against this fleet. I'll have a look at it. So the only change to this fight is I've swapped out those frigates. I've put in our Devastator torpedo frigates instead, to see the difference, to see if these will do even better damage against the cruisers and battleships that we're facing, or whether staying at range was more effective with the neutron launchers. So we'll see. Same fleet, combined fleet with all of our cruisers and battleships. So let's see how this turns out. Oof. Lost a lot of cruisers then. Cruisers are staying in close, those frigates are going to murder them. Yeah. Frigates have slaughtered those cruisers. See how effective those devastators are at close range. See, the shields are way down. Even though the torpedoes will go through the shields. Still doing a lot of damage to the battleships. You can see the artillery focus and fire them down anyway. Not even in torpedo range. Yeah, wow. That was a big win. Very effective. Huge. That was an annihilation. That was. Because what I noticed then, like, you think, okay, artillery destroyers and the torpedoes not really complementary because the torpedoes go through the shields. But what you saw then was, because there's so many destroyers, they're whittling down the shields and then they're focus firing the battleships, destroying them at long range, whittling them down, while the cruisers wiped out the frigates wiped out the cruisers, and then they closed range with some of the battleships and wiping them out with torpedoes. And then the battleships were hitting up, the destroyers were hitting other battleships with their kinetic artillery and wiping them out. Just simply because there's so many numbers, you get 30 plus kinetic batteries firing at you. That's going to make a bad day. So that was very interesting. That was, yeah, that's a powerful combination. Sort of throwing out the kitchen sink, isn't it? Throwing out the bathwater here with finding a new strong fleet design. But I think I wonder if carrier battleships could defeat them. You'd think with all the strike craft, because that's what I'd normally opt for if I saw someone come up with massed smaller ships like this. Go for strike craft. Let's give it a quick try, because I think this fleet would easily beat that other fleet we tried from Try 99 ER as well. It would deal very effective. I think the only counter for something like this is possibly strike craft, because you've got kinetic battery and torpedoes. Even if you stack point defenses, kinetic batteries are going to do a lot of damage to you. Okay, I'll try a carrier strike craft, I think, for that, and I think I'll leave it for this video. Okay, so we've got our carrier battleships. To see if we can combat this fleet with our focused arc emitters and strike craft. Let's see if this wins. The only other thing I thought which could combat that is mass corvettes, disruptor corvettes, which would probably win, I think. Just depends if the destroyers, how strong they are versus the corvettes. Let's give it a try. Battleships are running. If the frigates can close range. Looks like they're closing now. Releasing their torpedoes. A number of them going. They're doing a lot of damage to strike craft. They're whittling them down pretty quick. Yeah, looks like the battleships have got this one. Yeah. See, for every fleet, there's almost a counter now, isn't there? It's just what it comes down to is knowing who your enemy is. That is the key to this game now. Intelligence. yeah, it's with the multiplayer games. It's going to be so fun to see what designs people use against each other. And if you get caught out the wrong weapons and that's it. Your game is over. So you can see going for specific builds, really specific builds. It can be easily countered like this. You got kinetic destroyers and frigates with torpedoes going in, just strong against a lot of things. But you come up against carrier battleships, which are strong against a lot of things as well. But they get countered by artillery battleships, which take out the carrier battleships. So it's it's a paper, scissor, rock situation, isn't it? So we've seen a lot of strong builds today, and in a lot of situations they win, but then you've got to counter for it. So I think intel is going to be pretty important on how to beat certain enemies, and even against some of the AIs. Like I know now my multiplayer game we played a few nights ago, that some of the AIs are pretty strong, and trying to beat them instead of just raw numbers and firepower, it's going to come down to possibly learning to intel on what they've got. Alright, so I'm going to leave today's video there. If you've liked these battles and what you've seen today, hit that like button for me and subscribe to the channel. And we'll do some more battles in the near future and videos. Send through some suggestions and ideas on what you've seen, and we'll see you shortly again next time. And if you want to tune into some of the multiplayer games, we'll be starting a new game tonight. See you next time. Thanks for watching.